For 3 weeks, I've made programming, learning to program, my full-time job in effect. I've been sitting at home, cooped up, and on my computer, teaching myself any way I can. And that I started 3 weeks ago, and I said I'd update a video every week. I want to tell you about the hurdles that have been in my way, because at first, I felt like I wasn't doing it right. And I was hesitant to make a video about it because I was like, I don't think I have it together enough to make a video. I don't even know what I'd tell you guys. Hey, everything's just going to hell. I don't know. But I thought about it and I thought, you know what? No, this is exactly what I wanted to share. I wanted to share what it's really like when you teach yourself something and the responsibility that entails, the frustration that entails. But also the success it does as well. Because when I look back on it, although some of the parts have been just, really frustrating because I go, why is this thing trying to teach it that way when I don't understand it at all? I need to go find some other resource. It's crazy. They should make this better. But you know what? I don't get feedback when I'm just learning on my own. So that's kind of the difficulty. But when I look back on it, I go like, oh, well, I've actually learned a good bit. And especially in JavaScript. So let me take you through what I have gone through over the past 3 weeks. So, all right, I took a couple of notes here. I got the second monitor and it's huge. So if you see me looking up here, you know why. So, okay. I started, as I mentioned in the other video, with the documents from a well-renowned coding boot camp in my area. And that worked for the first few days. I'll show you a little bit of what I learned there. Although there was other stuff, I went into Terminal in the beginning, which Terminal's pretty cool. I'd never really messed with it. Like I said, I had no coding experience, and it was just very strange to me. It was very scary, I'll say. If you like Avatar: The Last Airbender, by the way, that's a good thing. I love that show. Okay, so we're in Terminal, and the first thing you can do is go ls, which tells you it's basically list out the things that you're viewing right now. And for those who are confused and who are not coders at all, it's like being in your Finder if you're a Mac user, and being in like your home tab. And so here I have applications, downloads, and so all these folders actually match with the folders here. They're called directories in the coding world as I'm learning. So from here you can do CD, which is short for change directory, and you can I'll go into Playground, which was one I was messing around with. And the weird thing about Terminal is it doesn't tell you anything. It just skips a line, and you go like, I need some feedback here. What happened? Did I go in? Did I not? And so I do ls for list again, and now I see, I have Canada, USA. This was a little exercise that they had us do for the coding boot camp suggested. So you go in USA, there's one from Michigan, like different counties, different states. And it was a little exercise where you practice moving text documents around in Terminal, which I vaguely remember. Right now, I just remember mostly ls, cd, and pwd, which is print your written directory. Shows you the complete path that you're on. rm, and then you could spell out the whole playground and other things, and you could remove a document. Very freaky, though, Terminal, because you could remove like your whole photo library in an instant. It doesn't go to your trash can. It doesn't pass go. It doesn't collect $200. It just vanishes. It gets like Thanos. It just makes it disappear from existence, which is kind of scary, especially when I'm very new to programming, completely new. And the first thing I'm learning is how to, destroy all the files on my computer. Too much power. So anyway, I'm not going to continue much more with Terminal here because I only brushed up on that. Then, after that, what I did, because what happened was around day 3, let me go back to here we go. On like day 3, maybe day 4, the curriculum was so confusing because it just jumped around to this new setup that was completely unexplained. And basically what was happening is the gap between what was implicit and explicit was tremendous. It was the gap between what's written in these documents that has all the information that you're supposed to learn at the coding boot camp and what are the teachers actually telling you on site or over Zoom or whatever in the coding boot camp. And that's the gap I was trying to fill with my own learning. I was trying to, without having the teachers just look at the resources. And as far as I believe, they might stand alone, but it would take a great deal of effort for me to go through this course without being enrolled in the boot camp. So I actually jumped ship and I went into something completely else, which was CodeGym, which is a Java learning platform. You can see I was a level 3, or became level 3, a bunch of tasks, and it's like $50 a month, which I signed up for. But of course, what happened is pretty cool though. I like the concept. I actually liked the beginning of the course quite a lot. And then they had me download. Basically, you could, in the beginning, do all the coding in the in the tab in your Chrome, in your web browser. That's the word I'm looking for. Great programmer. Gotcha. In your web browser, you could do all the coding. They had a little pseudo coding area that you type in your console, or in Java, your system.out, print things, println, all that crap. And it would return it. And it was very user-friendly. But then they said, you know what, if you want to be a real programmer, you should download IntelliJ, what Java programmers use, and we'll take it from there. And I thought, fair enough, downloaded it. And the extension that they wanted me to use wouldn't work with my M1 Mac computer. And long story short, it went from extremely user-friendly and a great experience to horrible. And so I was like, you know what? I'm doing it again. I'm jumping ship again. I'm getting out of here. And so I went from that to now Code Academy. And Code Academy suggested I did a full stack engineer course, which I'm 6% of the way through. It supposedly takes 6 months. I think I could complete it in a little bit less, probably like 4 months, something like that. And I do about 1% a day when I'm working on it, whatever that math comes out to. 100 days, 5 days a week, 20 weeks. That's got to be like 4 or 5 months, probably 4 months. Yeah. So, well, anyway, yeah, I was working on that. And then at the beginning, they explained lots of things even better than CodeGym did, especially functions. CodeGym just jumped me into functions after learning to define variables. Like, hey, here's a integer, int an integer called num or number equals 5. And you go, okay, you first declare your integers and then you use them, and this all makes sense. And then they went from that to doing functions where you don't declare things at first, they're just there. And then afterwards you use them and you go, whoa, what happened? How'd you do that? I thought you had to declare everything. And so it didn't explain it well enough, at least for me. And when I went into Code Academy, it became much more clear. They go like, look, these things called functions, they're actually separate. Well, it's like if you need to find the minimum of something, instead of typing out all the code to find the minimum each time, it's like a task that you call. It's this whole block that you call, and you argue to it. You send in arguments, which are the parameters it accepts are your arguments. And you say, I need the minimum of 6, 7, and 21. And it spits back out to you 6 if you've done the code right. So the functions, it now makes sense to me that, yeah, these are like it's like a little robot that does things for you. That's my sophisticated explanation. So, and you get to build those little robots. Very cool. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I am now. Although I'll add one more thing. While I was in Code Academy, even then, even though it's very user-friendly, I was still getting stuck. So I actually did one more step and went into this guy who made some cool YouTube videos. So I was jumping into his JavaScript course, which is about 6 hours of content, not including the coding. So I jumped into this. I'm like, I'm going to wipe through this one and then go back to Code Academy. I've done this over the past couple of days here. And he's a really good teacher. To me, it's not a standalone course, even though it's described as one. If I hadn't taken the other Code Gym, or especially Code Academy, I would have been somewhat lost in this. It's very fast paced and kind of assumes you know the basics of coding already. But that said, he explains things very well, which is why I decided to do his JavaScript course. And I'm going to finish that one before I go back to Code Academy. So that's where I am right now. I want to show you guys a little bit of what I can do with JavaScript, because I went from Java in Code Gym to JavaScript, and I'm going to stick to this. I'm not going to go back to Java at the moment. I like JavaScript too. It's pretty fun. So yeah, I'll start with, let's just do that. Console log, what I just had there, 8. And so the very basic thing you can do at first, just log things to your console. And then here's my console in a web browser, although you can also run it down here if you get, I got some cool extensions. One of them is Code Runner, which allows me to output things down here. Live server is what allows this thing to be over here. It's kind of weird. You know, this was all very new to me. I didn't get why you would have a text editor like this for JavaScript and something, and it wouldn't come with a very straightforward input-output. But you had to get these, you got to get these extensions and stuff to make it work. I just go on YouTube and look up how to get those if you're new to programming. But Code Runner and Live Server are good ones as far as I can tell. And anyway, so the very basic things you can do is log something to your console and declare variables. So in JavaScript, var name, except it doesn't like the word name, so let me do first name. If you do something that is a keyword for something else, if you try and make a variable that's called like var or called let or some other things, then it's not going to like you. So I like to just create more specific variable names. Var first name equals rex. Although they say that var is bad practice, this is what was used in old JavaScript. And since ES6 came out, the biggest update in the past few years, they included let and const. Some cool stuff. Const first name is rex. And that doesn't log anything to my console. My console's empty now. But I can go ahead and do console log and put first name. First name. So I'm just showing you guys a couple of basic things that I'm learning. Like this isn't this is not very impressive for 3 weeks of progress here, but I'll show you something I can do. So let's do let's walk through a FizzBuzz. FizzBuzz. I figured this one out. I did it through like 2 or 3 times now just to make sure I had it down. So hopefully I don't screw it up right here. But FizzBuzz is a neat little exercise where basically what happens is if you multiply, or if your number is divisible by 3, I don't know why I'm typing all this stuff out. I'm a slow typer. So if your number is divisible by 3, then the program returns fizz. If the number is divisible by 5, the program returns buzz. However, if the program, if the argument that you give to the program, give to the function, is divisible by both 3 and 5, then it will return to you FizzBuzz. No idea why these are the words, but it must have been an old thing that stuck. And you can take it a step further. You can also say, well, if you give a number that isn't divisible by 3 or 5, it's just going to return that number back. If you argue something that's not a number, then it'll return your I keep forgetting the word function will return not a number, which is a type of variable. So, okay, let me go back to sharing my screen here, and let's see if I can't in good time walk through FizzBuzz. So the first thing we're going to do is create a function. We're going to call it, it already doesn't like what I'm doing. We're going to call it FizzBuzz using camel case where the first letter of the word isn't capitalized. And to do that, it's going to accept one parameter, which is going to be a number. I'm going to call that num. And we're going to go right into it. So this is the body of our function. Now, the first thing I want to do is say that if num, let me do some parentheses, or if the type of num is not number. So those of you who are new to programming, I kind of want to, not break down everything too deeply here, but some of this should be straightforward. This not thing is kind of weird. Not equal to is what that means. Is not equal to number. Then I'm just going to say return, hey, bucko, enter a number. All right, which is what it should return. Or actually, I'm gonna say console log. I want it to log this to the console. You could always do it a different way, but just returning it. But I'm gonna log this stuff to the console. Okay, now that I've done that, all right. Let me put a thing after that little quote. Okay, and that's just the first thing I want to get out of the way is that I want to make sure the parameter, the argument received is in fact a number. I'm going to do a different if statement for, let's say it's a number. So now we could say if num, and here's the important thing, because we got to think like a computer. If the computer, if the if statement is accepted, basically, because I'm going to do an if else statement where it says if it's divisible by 5, then send buzz. If it's divisible by 3, send fizz. And then if 15, it's FizzBuzz. However, if I don't put 3 and 5 or 15 first, it's just going to see, for example, 30 is divisible by 3 and 5, but it's just going to see it's divisible by 3 and skip the rest of the code and just give me fizz instead of FizzBuzz. Because it's going to say, oh, it meets your whole logic, so don't have to look at the rest of this crap. Fizz, that's your answer. That's your stupid answer. And you get all upset because your code didn't work, but it's the computer saving time, energy, and not looking through everything. So if number divided by 3 or with a remainder after being divided by 3 is equal to 0 and number divided by with a remainder of 5. That's a cool little sign, by the way. When you use that percentage, I'm learning that it means the remainder left over after division. So 11 percentage 5 would be 1, I think. Anyway, it's a neat thing. So equal to 0. It's weird to talk about code, because I think half of the people who are very familiar with this, painfully familiar with this, are probably bored half to death. And the people who aren't familiar with it, I'm probably confusing to an extent. So it's hard to talk at the right level when you're talking about code. Anyway, if it's divisible by 3 and 5, basically, I want it to, and I don't actually, I'm going to keep those brackets. Then I want it to console log. I want it to log FizzBuzz. Give me the FizzBuzz. So it's just going to be a string that it's going to log. And now we get to do else if. And I'm just going to copy the fizz part. Else if number divided by 3 is 0 or doesn't have a remainder, then console log, and this time it's going to just log fizz. Okay, so it's getting easier here, or getting less complicated. I'm just going to copy that. Boop. and replace that with 5. Replace that with buzz. Okay. And then the last little part. Let me make sure I'm not... What is this thing attached to? That goes to this. Oh, I think I'm short one of these guys. Yep. All right. Now, the last one I'll add in is else. Instead of else if, just going to say, okay, if none of those apply, just console log the integer. Log num. So this should do all of the things I want it to, and that's only 10 lines of code. So let's see it. Let's go ahead and do FizzBuzz. And I'm going to put in the number 90 and see what happens. If I do it, I get FizzBuzz, which means it's divisible by 3 and 5. If I do the number 12, I get Fizz, divisible by 3. If I do 25, I get Buzz. If I do 42, I get, whoa, Fizz. That's not, oh yeah, it is. 42 is divisible by 3. Come on, Rex. 43. I just get the integer back. And if I say, does this work? Is mayonnaise an instrument? It says, hey, bucko, enter a number. Oh, and it actually logs. Oh, I didn't want it to do that. I didn't want it to log my... Oh, because else console log num. Okay, I guess I could have done that better. So let's just say it's going to log not a number. And crap, I messed it up. No. God, I'm upset because, yeah, this doesn't work like it should. If I log a string or something that's not a number, it should just return not a number. It shouldn't also do the else. I could say, I could still do this. Take else if type of number is type of num is a number. Haha, here's how I'll do it. Or, oh crap, no. Sorry guys, I gotta put this fire out here. So else if, this is the fun part of coding I'm learning. Else if type of num is equal to number. So if we have a number, man, I thought this one was too easy for them to use in coding interviews, but here I am screwing it up. Just shows I got a ways to go, huh? So else if type of num is number, console log number. This should just give me the number. And else, I'm just going to say, I think I'm just going to leave it. Can I just leave it without doing, I don't think I've ever just not done an else. Damn, I made it worse. Okay, I'm just going to leave this. But I swear I did it before and it worked better. But anyway, guys, yeah, I got a long ways to go, you know, as far as coding goes, but I'm more or less, if I sat down for 5 to 10 more minutes, I'm sure I could get a beautiful FizzBuzz together. But at the moment, that's where I am. And I'll do a brief coverage of things I understand here. I took some notes. I understand declaring variables, lets, constants, basic functions, their purpose, how to make one, what parameters, arguments mean, if-else statements, switch case statements, which I hear are older. They don't really use those much anymore. But, you know, sometimes you look at old code because a product has been around for a while and they're not redoing it back from the top. Let's see, arithmetic operators. I know how to write comments. Woo. To call functions, to reassign values to variables, comparative operators. I'm very burpy today. I drink a lot of seltzer water. I'll tell you what. how to use the math dot floor, math dot random, some different things like that, building arrays. And there's stuff I'm struggling with, like although there's these things called for loops where you make a loop and you say for this thing, like you can basically print out like for numbers from 0 to 10 or something and say for up until the number 10, increase the integer by 1 each time, increase and spit it back out to me. And I kind of get that stuff, but I'm struggling with these extra keywords like for in or let of and getters and setters and different. There's a lot of stuff, and it feels like I'm just every time I'm breaking through to understand something, there's like 5 more things I don't get at all, which is annoying, but I look back and I've learned a lot already, and so I'm going to learn a lot more, and I'm excited to see what comes of this. I would like to provide more updates. I'll be honest, this whole coding thing has thrown a lot of my life upside down in a way. Not completely, my family still fine. I still play volleyball as a hobby. I still have my girlfriend and we do date nights and that stuff is still going. But I used to spend more time writing on my computer, more time studying other things, and I'm just completely zonked after my coding from like 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something like that I just do not feel like getting on my computer for anything productive later in the day. So I'm trying to redo my schedule in a way where I can actually sit down, make these videos, do other things that give my life joy and meaning, and, balance this out a little bit. But yeah, I want to make more content here because I've seen a lot of people who have said they're self-taught programmers, but I haven't seen a lot of people walk through the process of learning programming. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Maybe it's boring, maybe it's a bad idea for those of you watching, but I think it'll be, if nothing else, it'll work for accountability, I hope, on my end. And it might be something interesting, at least for me to look back on. But, I hope, some of you watching this get something out of it. Because hopefully you can see how incompetent I am right now and certainly was when I started. And maybe in 6, 7, 10 more videos, I'll start to look like I have a clue about what I'm doing. And that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? So that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.